Hi guys, here is him and today we're gonna and this is my fourth video and this one we're gonna play. Actually we're not playing, we're gonna watch. Yep. I know I don't have why you don't email Netflix and then you need money to do that, because one day I just downloaded it and then I just see that I need money to watch a video. I can go in there, but I need money to watch. Okay, what are we watching? We can watch the first one, the spider. Okay, I hate that. Or not watch this one.
You guys need to calm down. Like, seriously, wow. And this is just a fraction of the amount of comments. Yeah, guys, now you can calm down because, well, let's just continue watching this video. Hi, how you doing? Well, great. You are too. Please don't kill me today, okay? Everyone has been requesting for this video. It's either you behave or, yeah, just behave, please. Wow, thank you. I appreciate it, really, I do. Whoa, guys, so this is a miracle. I'm so surprised. Look at her, how well behaved she is today. Get her some fresh water. Wow, I'm amazed. So I've got a good feeling for this video. Well, since she behaved today, would you guys want to see how she eats? Of course you do. Who wouldn't? Wow, she doesn't even want to eat. She's such a good girl today. Wow, look at that. Guys, this is so unlike her. She's being very, very good today. Very polite. Alright, I hope the rest are behaving like this today. This is the Brazilian pink bloom. The Pampo. Oh my goodness, there she goes. Just wanted to show you guys how she looks. That was quick though. Pamphobeteus platioma, also known as the Brazilian pink bloom.
Okay, spoon. We need something to watch. Why don't watch my channel? Yep, my channel. Hi, Hudda. This was my brother. Okay, which one should we choose? Let's use the Freddy one. Okay. You should not like this video. Oh my god, chill out videos. What do we watch? Which one? No. Which one should we watch? They just have idea. Okay. Do you know what this idea to watch this? We got just that's one of them did it. Okay. I didn't mean to put this.
Hi guys.
Ew. Then I bought something else. I know what to do. I'm going to spin it and plus on something. And let's see what the stuff does, but this one.
You can get there. That's up close to 164 joules. You're gonna probably get close to 300, 350 skips.
350 skips.
Under the current idea, yeah.
Is that even possible? 300 already just seems ridiculous, right? I don't even know who could count that. Like, I couldn't count 10. There's just something really satisfying about skipping a rock. If you ever skipped one 5 or 6 times, you might find yourself taking it a little more seriously. See if you can get 7, 8, 9 consecutive skips. Turns out some people take stone skipping very seriously and actually compete to see who can skip the most or who can skip the farthest. The current world record for most consecutive skips is probably higher than you think. Try counting the skips in this footage of the world record. Just don't blink. Did you catch it? That was 88 skips. Here's the amazing thing. Models actually project the limit could be a lot higher than that. Today, we're going to explore what that limit might be and why approaching or even exceeding it could be almost impossible. To find out what it takes, I skipped stones with the world record holder. What was that? 7? 8?
You know, the odd thing is, I never count.
Are you serious? You never count?
I don't.
Talked fluid dynamics with a physicist.
It hits the water, and this back end sort of creates a wave, and so the stone tends to rise up over that wave that it creates, and that's what allows it to get a lift force that gets it back in the air again for the next impact, and over again.
And brought both of them together
Oh, gorgeous.
to see if we can figure out how a world-class stone skipper gets so many touches on the water, and what the limit might actually be. So we're here today with Kurt Steiner. He's the world record holder in stone skipping, specifically most consecutive skips on the water. And how many skips was that?
It was 88.
That's so remarkable. I can't even, I'm not a really talented stone skipper, but you know, if I find myself at a lake with some stones, I will do some skipping. I think the most I've ever done is like 13 or 14, and like that makes me really, really happy and proud. So 88 is like, how?
It is what makes you happy that counts more. But I think we can get that number up a bit.
We flew Steiner and a couple boxes of rocks to Utah, where he gave me some lessons on extreme stone skipping. Steiner makes it look easy, but a good skip is more than just how hard you throw a stone for it, which is,
Okay.
in fact, it all starts with the stone itself. Okay, that was close to like 15. I was gonna say 15. All right. So the most I've ever skipped before this is around 14, 15. And here on my second throw, I hit around 14, 15, which tells me there's a lot to do with the rock you're using. Steiner's stones made a huge difference. The worst rock in this box is better than the nicest rock I've ever skipped. Steiner, like a lot of top skippers, is very particular about his stones. He collects his from Lake Erie, a few hours from his home in Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of questions as to what kind of rock is best, right? The general category I use is just how many sizes it.
Steiner isn't just an expert stone skipper. He's an expert stone picker, too.
This one is pretty similar to the one I would have set the record with.
He uses different shapes for different skips and different conditions.
People like triangles. I used to like triangles, but they just chew up the water too much. You're always kind of weighing how much irregularity is in my rock against how hard am I throwing it against what water am I throwing it onto.
Steiner also showed me how to hold the stone for maximum skipping.
The first thing you ever want to do is determine which side's going to be down, right? And you generally want to go with a flatter or slightly rounded. If it's cupped or jagged, put that up. Especially you want to look at the outer edge because the stone almost never touches except around a half-inch around the edge.
But as I soon found out, there's a lot more to skipping than just picking a good stone.
Okay.
Steiner uses a variety of grips and stances for things like distance, power, and number of skips.
That's a high spin throw. And then there's one here where you're a little closer to the water. That's a good way to get a lot of power in real close.
He's got a classic low skimming toss and an unusual overhand swing.
But basically, you're just going to try to swat the water as hard as you can with the rock as flat as possible.
He showed me how to get a little more whip on my skip.
Oops.
Lesson number 1, throw hard.
You've got a lot more strength than you're using.
He suggested trailing my hand.
Yeah, and don't start pivoting your waist around and your shoulder around until that left leg is a good foot out in front of you. If you drag your arm, right, you see what I mean? You're almost opening up into the throw. It'll tension up across here, and then your hand is catching back up to the body and it'll snap out better.
All right, let's give that a shot.
Okay. Let me just pause the video.
That actually looked a little better to me. So now the third part is where it comes together here.
Wait a minute, guys. Just gonna do something.
That's where you're gotta hit your target.
Next, Kurt had me aim for a first touch closer to the shoreline.
Did you notice how when you threw the rock, the longer it stays in the air, the more it'll roll over on its side? That is always happening. You can minimize that, obviously, by lessening the time in the air, which is one reason you want to hit close.
I'm so excited to be sponsored by Wish this week. So here is the jacket, and I'm pretty sure it was $18. Look how freaking cute this is. Today's outfit, Bobdella. It's literally less expensive than the coffee I get.
So we're going to be focusing on 3 things on this throw based on Kurt's feedback. 1, I'm going to be delaying the start of my throw so I can utilize more of my biomechanics. 2, I'm going to try to throw it hard. And 3, I'm going to try to make contact with the water really close to myself.
There it is.
So that looked like high teens to me.
Immediate improvement. And that was your first try.
Yes!
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Every throw is a complete new puzzle.
So how is it that someone like Steiner can skip stones so many times? To find out, we asked Tad Truscott, who runs the Splash Lab at Utah State University in Logan.
Yeah, Splash Lab, welcome.
Thanks. You've got a lot of really cool stuff in here.
Yeah, it looks like junk, but we're using all of it.
Yes, it's a real lab, and the work they do there is amazing.
And then this tank here where I shot bullets into it for my thesis, my PhD thesis.
You shot bullets into this.
Yeah, absolutely. They were modifying 22 bullets.
Is that what that hole is?
Yeah, it's where we missed. But that's a misfire, but yeah.
To study stone skipping, Truscott and his team recorded Steiner hurling stones into a tank at thousands of frames per second. To figure out how many skips are possible, you have to first understand just how a skip works. Here's what happens.
So you have the stone, it's in your hand, and you throw it. And as you do that, you release it off of your fingers, and that causes it to have some spin. So this spin is really important. We call it gyroscopic stabilization. It essentially holds the attack angle of the rock with respect to, say, the surface of the water. So then when you hit the water, it deforms the water and pushes a wave out in front of it. But the velocity of the stone is much faster than the wave that it creates. And so it ends up rising up on that wave that it created. And this causes a little lift force. The rock is able to go back into the air and then back down. And so this happens over and over and over again for a good rock skip, right? And that gyroscopic stabilization is what keeps that attack angle correct. And friction is really the only other thing that's like reducing your ability to keep going.
The Splash Lab isn't the only one studying stone skipping. A group of French scientists first figured out a model for ideal skipping in 2004.
These researchers in France found out that the optimal angle for a disc to skip on the water's surface is about 20 degrees for both the attack angle and also that velocity vector. That coupled with how fast it is thrown as well as how much gyroscopic stabilization it has, sort of set up the problem to find out what the maximum number of skips you can get, or the number of skips you'll get based on what that spin rate is and what that velocity is and that impact angle.
Now, you might think that studying stone skipping is a bit frivolous, but Truscott says there are practical applications.
Yeah, definitely. So a spacecraft that was proposed that would bounce off the atmosphere as it kind of came back towards Earth and use that to keep itself out. You know, if you want to land on, say, the moon of Titan, you may want to come in for a soft landing. Knowing how skipping works might be a great way to do that.
To figure out how Steiner skips so many times, Truscott and his lab also went into the field to gather data on his arm speed and the rotation of the stones.
All right! I think that was it, dude.
Steiner's maximum speed is around 50 miles an hour. His world record skip was calculated at 43 miles per hour. But he also has years of experience. Even his dud throws put my best efforts to shame. But could someone best his record?
I've seen one or two people who have a technique that could maybe beat that, but it's almost impossible.
Now, you might remember from our previous episode on the fastball that pitchers are about maxed out on speed at just over 100 miles per hour. Truscott applied that metric to stone skipping and came up with some amazing calculations.
A really safe place on our chart puts you around 93 mile an hour throw because it's a little heavier than a baseball, and they have a bigger radius, which makes their moment of inertia larger. So you need a little more energy in that side of it. So 93 miles an hour is about where you're topping out. You're going to have about 2,800 to 3,000 revolutions per minute, and if you can get there, that's close to 164 joules. You're going to probably get close to 350 skips.
350 skips.
Under the current idea, yeah.
Is that even possible? 300 already just seems ridiculous, right? I don't even know who could count that. Like, I couldn't count 10 today.
Steiner thinks the limit is probably closer to 200.
If that's what the number says, I'd like to go test it.
Truscott and other scientists have modeled their projections using a perfectly round disk. But as Steiner showed me, there are no uniform stones.
Because Mother Nature never sees fit to make two of the same thing. I have to get on her about that.
So skipping a stone might seem like a simple thing, but it's actually this beautifully complex mix of skill, athleticism, and fascinating physics.
It's such a miracle to me what's going on. You know, it's just this weird dance of water and stone and air.
So will we ever see 300 consecutive skips, or 350? That's a good question. It'll probably take someone with a major league caliber arm and Kurt Steiner's devotion. But what we're seeing these days from the world's top skippers is already almost impossible.
Okay, now this is what our video. Have a good time. Don't forget. I'm just gonna show you to go down in my video and to subscribe and to thumb up and to ring the bell, ring, and peace out. And comment below what did you like this video, and even comment below if you did like the rock thing, and if you're trying that, thumb up so I can know. Okay, bye, peace out. Bye, peace out.